The Pendle Witches. This story begins with a young girl, Alison Device, in the year 1612. Alison was out walking in the spring air near the town of Nelson Pendle. She had asked a pedlar if he would sell her some pins, but the man refused and shortly after became upset and then fell down. He was paralysed down one side, numb and unable to speak. Today we would recognise this as a stroke. The pedlar's son was sent for, and he was taken to a nearby pub. He began to rant about a black dog that had come to him, and these rants caused the men in the pub to believe that his condition was surely caused by witchcraft. In the hopes that Alison could undo her actions, she was sent for, and she immediately apologised to the pedlar, and she admitted to bewitching him. She also said that she could not undo her magic, and that her grandmother was a witch, and that bad things happened around her. Local magistrate Roger Knoll was then sent for, and an investigation into witchcraft began. When Knoll started delving further, events spiralled, and as a Puritan magistrate, Knoll had his own political and religious reasons for wanting to hunt down witches. Knoll interviewed Alison's mother, Elizabeth, and grandmother, before casting his net wider and involving neighbours in his investigation too. The whole trial then snowballed from there. The investigation showed that there had been witchcraft accusations in the community for the past 20 years. Alison's grandmother, Old Dempkey, had a rival, Old Chattocks, and it seemed that they had been used by their neighbours to perform magic. This magic was used to resolve family feuds and cure sick cattle. They were a well-used utility in the area, and used by their neighbours who all seemed to have believed in magic. It was only when Knoll began to investigate that accusations of witchcraft arose and trials began. The floodgates of accusations opened, and neighbours started to incriminate neighbour, although the families themselves stayed loyal to each other in the beginning. And before long, over a dozen alleged witches from the Pendle area were arrested and sent to Lancaster Castle. For the trials, men and women from Pendle walked the 50 miles to Lancaster Castle to bear witness to the 10 individuals spending their final moments in the castle gallows. The hilltop location of the 15th century gatehouse would have offered no comfort to those soon to be hung, as they were moved to the cell deep below the well tower. On their arrival, this is where they would have been kept. The building, also known as the Witches' Tower, still stands, and visitors can peer through the iron-barred doors down the dark stone stairs that lead to the cell below. The small, bare room, with damp walls and metal rings in the floor, has hardly had any natural light and is virtually unchanged in 400 years. The accused were held there for several months while they awaited trial, and one of the prisoners, Alison's grandmother, Old Dempkey, died, most likely in the cell, before being called to the stand. Largely ignored by their jailers, living in filth and squalor, with little comprehension of what was happening to them, it is little wonder that many began to see the black dogs, devils and spirits they later confessed to having encountered. Now, dating back to the Roman period, the castle has held prisoners for much of its long history. It served as a female penitentiary and debtors' prison in the 19th century, as well as incarcerating religious and political prisoners. Until 2011, the castle also housed modern-day prisoners, has HMP Lancaster, and is still, today, a working Crown Court. Now, going back to the trial, it began on the 18th of August, beginning with Old Chattocks, who was accused of the murder of Robert Nutter some 18 years previously. The trial accounts, written by Clerk of the Court Thomas Potts, tells the devil visiting in the form of a black dog, of flying ponies, and of curses that could not be undone. It remains the best documented account of an English witch trial, despite the evident bias of its author, who was writing for an audience willing to believe in the existence of such evil. Lancashire in the early 17th century was regarded as one of the dark corners of the land. It had never been properly evangelised by the new Church of England, and Roman-style Catholic beliefs and superstitions persisted. It was seen as a place of Jesuits and illegal underground Catholics. The Protestant authorities in Lancashire were embarrassed by this. The staunchly Protestant James VI had been on the throne of England for 9 years and had a strong belief in witchcraft and magic. What better way to impress the king and put Lancashire on the map as somewhere that was engaging fully in the persecution of witches than to stage a huge trial using the most up-to-date witch-hunting techniques. Another fascinating aspect of the trial is that most of the accusations of witchcraft came from children. James and Janet Device saw their mother, grandmother and sister taken into custody and concocted a story about witchcraft in the family. In a bid to avoid being accused themselves, the pair confessed to a number of matters relating to witchcraft in the family. 9-year-old Janet, however, went a step further and incriminated her older brother James, who was arrested and tried alongside his mother and sister, Alison. Ultimately, Janet's accusation and the confessions of the alleged witches themselves threw 10 of those accused sentenced to hang, with another placed in the pillory. Many of the witches blamed wicked spirits for tempting them into revenge when they had been ill-treated, believing that this would exonerate them. But what most would not have known is that the Witchcraft Act had changed in 1604, making it illegal to have anything to do with any wicked or evil spirit, no matter how justified their actions may have been. By admitting to having even encountered these evil spirits, the accused had effectively placed their heads in the noose. On August 20th, 1612, 8 women and 2 men were led by cart to a location near what is now Williamson Park. Poignantly, with what was probably their first view of the sea over Morecambe Bay, they were hanged. The events surrounding the Lancashire witch trials have traditionally been treated as an outbreak of witchcraft in 1612, but what we are actually seeing are long-standing accusations which haven't been prosecuted until a political and religious reason was found. Thank you for watching my video, and please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.